In 1987, a movie about summer love, class struggle, and a dance instructor in the Catskills became one of the most unlikely blockbusters in American cinema history. Dirty Dancing cost $6 million to make. It earned over $200 million worldwide. Its title song won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and a Grammy. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Nearly 40 years later, those words still land. But the real lives of the people who made Dirty Dancing are far more complicated than the film's final lift suggests. Some of them became icons. Some of them walked away entirely. Some of them are gone. And one of them left a hole in Hollywood that has never fully been filled. This is the cast of Dirty Dancing, then and now. We start here because you cannot talk about Dirty Dancing without Patrick Swayze. And you cannot talk about Patrick Swayze without understanding the distance between who Johnny Castle was and who Swayze actually was. Johnny Castle was effortless. The leather jacket, the controlled power, the line delivered at the end that became one of the most quoted sentences in movie history. Patrick Swayze was something more complicated. A Houston kid raised by a choreographer mother and an outdoorsman father trained in classical ballet, injured out of a football scholarship. Someone who had to fight for every room he walked into. He was 34 years old when Dirty Dancing was filmed, and nobody outside of a small audience knew quite what he was capable of until that summer at Kellerman's. After Dirty Dancing, his career exploded. Ghost in 1990. Point Break in 1991. People magazine named him Sexiest Man Alive. He played a drag queen in To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything. Julie Newmar, and did it with complete commitment. He never chased the obvious roles. He chased the ones that surprised people. In January of 2008, Patrick Swayze was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He had been a heavy smoker for 40 years and believed his habit contributed to the disease. Doctors gave him months. He outlived that prognosis by nearly 2 years, spending much of that time filming an A&E television series because he refused to stop working. He gave an interview to Barbara Walters in which he described watching jaundice set in and understanding for the first time what was happening to his body. He did it without self-pity. On September 14, 2009, Patrick Swayze passed away at his California ranch with his wife Lisa Nemi by his side. He was 57 years old. His ashes were scattered over his ranch in New Mexico. Jennifer Grey said of him, "He was a rare and beautiful combination of raw masculinity and amazing grace." That is the most accurate sentence anyone has written about Patrick Swayze, and it is also a perfect description of the film he made. Nobody puts baby in a corner, and nobody has replaced Johnny Castle. Baby Houseman was the girl who walked into a world she wasn't supposed to know about and discovered herself on the other side of it. Jennifer Grey was 26 years old during filming, the daughter of Oscar-winning actor Joel Grey, already recognizable from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Dirty Dancing earned her a Golden Globe nomination. For a brief period in 1987, she was one of the most recognized faces in American cinema, and then she made a decision that changed everything. In the early 90s, after years of being told by industry figures that her nose was a problem, Grey underwent 2 rhinoplasty procedures. The result left her looking different enough that people who had loved her simply didn't recognize her anymore. She has spoken about it in her memoir and in dozens of interviews since. The specific horror of becoming unrecognizable in an industry where your face is your identity. She described becoming, in her own words, the most famous woman nobody knows. The career that should have followed Dirty Dancing never quite materialized. She worked steadily. Television, smaller films, a memorable win on Dancing with the Stars in 2010. But the trajectory she had been on in 1987 was broken. In 2022, she published a memoir called Out of the Corner that told the full story. Her childhood as Joel Grey's daughter, her relationships with Matthew Broderick and Johnny Depp, her complicated dynamic with Swayze on set, and the nose job that altered the course of her professional life. On January 27, 2026, Lionsgate confirmed that a Dirty Dancing sequel is officially in development. Jennifer Grey will return as Baby Houseman and serve as executive producer. The Hunger Games producers Nina Jacobson and Brad Simpson are attached. Production is expected to begin later in 2026. Today, Jennifer Grey is 65 years old. She has said in interviews that no matter how old she gets, her body will find a way to keep moving. The girl who carried a watermelon into a room and changed her life is carrying this story forward, this time on her own terms. Nobody puts Baby in a corner. After everything, Baby has decided to step back into the room herself. Penny Johnson was at the center of Dirty Dancing's most radical storyline, the one the studio executives desperately wanted cut from the film. Johnny's dance partner, the woman whose illegal abortion becomes the turning point of the entire plot. Without Penny's crisis, Baby never becomes Johnny's partner. Without Penny's story, the film is just a love story. With it, the film becomes something more. Cynthia Rhodes was 31 years old during filming. She had already appeared in Flashdance and Staying Alive alongside John Travolta. She was a triple threat: actress, singer, dancer, and she brought to Penny a toughness and vulnerability in equal measure that made the film's most uncomfortable subplot feel completely real. What happened next is one of the quieter exits in Hollywood history. Rhodes met singer-songwriter Richard Marx on the set of Staying Alive in 1983. They married in 1989. She had their first son in 1990, then a second, then a third. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, she simply stopped acting. Not dramatically, not with any announced decision, but gradually and completely. Her last screen credit was in 1991. Richard Marx later told interviewers, "I thought she was going to want to come back and do films, but she found a fulfillment in being a mom that completely dominated any feeling she ever had about making a movie." After 25 years of marriage, the couple divorced in 2014. Rhodes has remained almost entirely out of the public eye since. No social media, no interviews, no screen appearances. Penny Johnson fought for her right to make her own choice. Cynthia Rhodes made hers and has never once looked back. Jake Houseman was the father who thought he understood the world his daughter was growing up in and discovered by the end of the summer that he had been wrong about almost everything. Jerry Orbach was 51 years old during filming, and he played that slow erosion of certainty with a precision that made Jake the most quietly complex character in the film. Orbach came from the theater, 2 Tony Awards, the original cast of Chicago on Broadway, a career in musical theater stretching back to the 1950s, and a voice that could fill any room. Dirty Dancing gave him a chance to flex muscles that musical theater had never quite required. After Dirty Dancing, he voiced Lumiere in Disney's Beauty and the Beast, introducing himself to an entirely new generation. And from 1992 until the end of his life, he was Detective Lenny Briscoe on Law and Order. 12 seasons, the unofficial face of the franchise, a character inseparable from the identity of the show. Here is the detail that matters. In January of 1994, Jerry Orbach was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He told almost nobody. He kept working. He played Lenny Briscoe for another decade while fighting the disease in private. In early December of 2004, he finally announced he had been receiving treatment. 3 weeks later, on December 28, Jerry Orbach died at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in Manhattan. He was 69 years old. The marquees on Broadway were dimmed the following day. He was an eye donor. His eyes saved 2 people from blindness. Jake Houseman eventually understood what he had gotten wrong. Jerry Orbach spent 10 years quietly getting everything right until there was no more time left to do it. Marjorie Houseman barely registers in Dirty Dancing. She's in the background of most scenes, the mother who defers to her husband. It is a small role. Kelly Bishop played it with the economy of someone who has spent decades understanding exactly how much a single look communicates. Bishop was already a Tony Award winner before the cameras rolled. She had won for a chorus line in 1976. She was 42 during filming and brought to Marjorie a quiet dignity that made the character feel completely believable even in her limited screen time. Modern audiences know Kelly Bishop for something else entirely. She played Emily Gilmore on Gilmore Girls from 2000 to 2007, 7 seasons as the sharp, exacting, occasionally terrifying mother of Lorelai Gilmore, returning for the Netflix revival in 2016. It is a performance of genuine complexity and represents some of the finest work of her career. She continues to work in theater and television at 81 years old. Marjorie Houseman faded into the background of every scene she was in. Kelly Bishop has never once faded. Max Kellerman owned the resort, the gregarious, slightly desperate impresario of a dying era. Jack Weston played him with a warmth that made Kellerman sympathetic, even in his most self-serving moments. Weston was a character actor's character actor, someone who appeared in The Thomas Crown Affair, Wait Until Dark, and dozens of films and television shows across a career spanning 40 years. He received a Tony Award nomination for the Woody Allen play The Floating Light Bulb in 1981. Dirty Dancing was among his final major roles. In 1990, he was diagnosed with lymphoma. He fought the disease for 6 years. On May 3, 1996, Jack Weston died at the age of 71. Max Kellerman ran a resort that was slowly becoming a relic of another time. Jack Weston built a career across 4 decades and left left the stage on his own terms. Robbie Gould was the villain audiences loved to hate, the smooth, entitled medical student who got Penny pregnant and quoted Ayn Rand when confronted about it. Max CANTOR played him at 25 years old with a specific kind of charm that made Robbie's cruelty believable. You understood exactly how someone like Penny could have trusted him. CANTOR came from a prominent New York family. His father was a well-known journalist, and he had studied seriously as an actor. Dirty Dancing was his largest film role, and he brought to Robbie a polished entitlement that made the character genuinely repellent without ever resorting to caricature. What happened after Dirty Dancing is one of the most tragic stories connected to the film. Max CANTOR struggled with heroin addiction in the years following the movie's release. On October 28, 1991, he was found dead in his New York City apartment from a heroin overdose. He was 32 years old. Robbie Gould was the young man who thought the rules didn't apply to him. Max CANTOR was a young man who deserved far more time than the world gave him. Lisa Houseman was Baby's older sister, the vain, slightly oblivious one who spent the summer learning to do the hula at the resort's talent show while Baby was discovering something real. Jane Brooker played her with a comic exactness that made Lisa both annoying and strangely endearing. Brucker was 27 years old during filming. Here is the detail that most people don't know about her character. Brucker co-wrote the intentionally terrible song her character performs at the resort's talent show. The song was designed to be bad. She wrote something that achieved that perfectly. After Dirty Dancing, Brucker continued working steadily in television and theater. Guest appearances in Miami Vice, Bloodhounds of Broadway, and various other productions. She married photographer Raul Vega in 2001 and has largely maintained a private life since. She is 62 years old in 2026, occasionally appearing at Dirty Dancing reunion events where fans still quote her character's talent show performance with genuine affection. Lisa Houseman was the girl who didn't know what she was missing. Jane Brooker always knew exactly what she was doing. Neil Kellerman was Max's grandson, the ambitious, slightly insufferable young man who wanted to modernize the resort and couldn't understand why a dance instructor like Johnny Castle mattered. Lonnie Price played him at 27 with a comic self-importance that made Neil the right kind of antagonist, annoying enough to create friction, human enough not to be a villain. After Dirty Dancing, Price's career pivoted significantly toward directing. He directed Glenn Close in the Broadway revival of Sunset Boulevard in 2017. He helmed the touring production of Peter Pan in 2023. He has won 2 Emmy Awards for directing. He reprised the role of Neil Kellerman in the 2017 made-for-television Dirty Dancing film. Today, Lonnie Price is 66 years old, a director whose stage work has brought him more recognition than any single acting role. Neil Kellerman thought he understood what the resort needed. Lonnie Price spent his career learning to listen to other people's stories instead. Stan was the Kellerman's employee who helped Johnny and Baby navigate the resort's social geography. Small role, memorable presence, played by an actor about to become one of television's most recognizable faces. Wayne Knight was 29 during filming. In the years that followed Dirty Dancing, he would appear in Jurassic Park as the computer programmer who tried to steal dinosaur embryos, Space Jam, Toy Story 2, and, most famously, as Newman, Jerry Seinfeld's scheming neighbor and arch nemesis across the entire 9-season run of Seinfeld. Playing Newman and Officer Don on Third Rock from the Sun simultaneously gave him a comedy double act rarely equaled on American television. In 2017, Knight found himself at the center of a disturbing false rumor. Reports spread rapidly on social media that he had died. He was alive and healthy and responded with characteristic good humor. He is 70 years old in 2026 and continues to work. Stan helped clear the path for Baby and Johnny. Wayne Knight has spent 40 years making sure nobody forgot he was there. Dirty Dancing was released on August 21, 1987. It cost $6 million. It earned over $200 million. Its soundtrack is still playing in cars and kitchens and yoga classes around the world. And the lift at the end, the one they rehearsed in a lake because Jennifer Grey was afraid of heights, is still one of the most recognizable images in the history of popular cinema. The man who made that lift possible is gone, buried under a New Mexico sky with his horses and his ranch and his wife beside him. The woman who flew through his arms is returning to Kellerman's, older now, and a producer this time, carrying the story forward herself. And somewhere in Illinois, Cynthia Rhodes is living a quiet life she has chosen completely, telling nobody anything about it. That was the cast of Dirty Dancing, then and now.